Hello, my name is Madison Snyder, and this is my persuasive speech on why I believe that Christopher Columbus Day should be renamed for the indigenous people that suffered detrimental loss throughout history. First, I really want to start this off by explaining what Columbus actually did and how, for some reason, he snuck his way into our American education system and still has a federal holiday named after him. And then I want to talk about what actually happened to the indigenous tribes that inhabited the American land before the discovery of the New World, and how Columbus really was not that great of a person, and why Columbus Day should instead indeed be recognized as Indigenous Peoples Day. So I have a map, a reversed image map, so I really hope this shows up. I won't be able to read it. I am so sorry. This is just a map of Christopher Columbus's trips across the Atlantic Ocean from Spain. He made 4 trips, one in 1492, one in 1493, one in 1498, and one in 1502. In this initial journey, he stumbled upon what is the today's Bahamas, and he sailed from island to island looking for gold and treasure. And then, according to Penn State, which is an accredited college website, once established on this island, he enslaved the island's people, which he called Indians, because he believed that he had reached India. Incorrectly, he believed that he had reached India. And once enslaving these people, he forced them to work for plantations and search for gold and different resources on the islands. He renamed these islands Hispaniola, and in 1493, present-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Columbus named himself governor of this present-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic. He would punish the native people by cutting off their ears and noses, and then he paraded women naked through the streets before selling them into slavery. The population on the island, on these specific islands, the resources were so decimated that within 60 years of Columbus landing, only a few hundred of what may have been 250,000 people of indigenous people were left on the islands. These people were called the Taino people, and after returning to Spain, Columbus told the king and the queen of his journeys and his travels, and this basically kick-started the travelers traveling across the ocean trying to make claim of this new land. And did you know that in 1492 there were between 5 million and 15 million indigenous people living in North America? Jumping ahead a bit, by the late 1800s there were fewer than 280,000 people, indigenous people living in North America. And if we really think about this, the War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock, Arkansas has held a capacity of 55,000 before. That's roughly five war memorial stadiums full of indigenous people spread across the entire North America. That is it. That was all that was left of these indigenous people. And I believe that the new age of discovery and searching for the New World was actually one of the smallest dominoes, which almost led to the complete extinction and decimation of the entire native tribes all across the North America. Of course, everyone knows the first established colony was the Jamestown colony, and although it lasted for roughly 100 years, these people that came there didn't really know how to adapt to the environment they were in, and the indigenous people met them with hospitality and kindness, but John Smith, who was the captain of the Jamestown colony, didn't really listen to the chief of the Powhatan people, and they were not ready for when the winter came, and they continued to raid the indigenous tribes for resources before John Smith was ultimately shot and had to go back to England. But throughout the world, even after John Smith left, Jamestown entered a famine that was met with disease and death, and it passed on hundreds of unknown viruses and diseases to the native people who had never been exposed to British viruses or germs or anything like that. But still, throughout the years, people were coming from all over the world to establish their claim. And on July 4th, 1776, the United States of America established the Declaration of Independence. And in this declaration, it is stated, he, which is the British king, he has excited domestic insurrections among us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages. And according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, since America's independence in 1776, the United States government has launched over 1,500 attacks on Native American tribes, slaughtering the Native Americans, taking their lands, and committing countless crimes such as scalping and human trafficking. Moving on to 1830, the United States passed the Indian Removal Act, which was the forced relocation of Indians in the country, known to many as the Trail of Tears, which was a very horrible relocation of Native tribes. And this act legally deprived Native Americans the right to live in the eastern United States, and it forced some 100,000 Indians to move west of the Mississippi River from their ancestral lands in the South. And this migration happened in the middle of the summer heat, allowing exhaustion and dehydration. Hundreds of people or thousands of people died every day. Again, I have a map, reversed image. I'm not sure if this will show up. This is a map of the Trail of Tears, and on the side you can see the names of the tribes. We have the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Seminole, and these are the relocation measures that were taken, traveling 16 miles a day. This ultimately became known as the Trail of Blood and Tears because of the amount of blood and tears, believe it or not. Those that refused to move were massacred by the U.S. government, and they were left to military suppression and forcible eviction. I would like to actually, in this speech, to ask you to think about what it means to be an American and what it means to celebrate days like Columbus Day, and how instead we should celebrate the Indigenous people and acknowledge the countless lives that have been lost in history, the countless cultures and tribes that have been wiped out from history, and we should celebrate current Native Americans and their cultures. And I would also like to ask you to read about Native tribes that originate in your area. I have a map of Arkansas that shows Native tribes that would be in your area compared to if you're in the north or the east or the west or the south. You can read it. We have Osage, Quapaw, and Caddo. And with things like this, you can look at where you are, say if you're in Jonesboro or something like that. You can read up on the tribes that were living in the spots, then living and inhabited the same spots that you're in right now, hundreds of years ago. And I would also like to remind everyone that Christopher Columbus never set foot in North America. Thank you.